When you think of Antarctica, you probably picture this vast, empty continent of ice, right? And you're not wrong. It's the coldest, driest, and highest place on Earth. But what if I told you that beneath all that ice, there are secrets? Secrets that could totally rewrite what we think we know about history, about life itself, and maybe even our place in the universe. So let's do it. Let's peel back that ice and see what's really been waiting down there.
Okay, first, let's just try to wrap our heads around the scale we're talking about here. The ice sheet covering this place, in some spots, it's a staggering 5 kilometers thick. That's more than 3 miles of solid ice. Imagine that weight, just pressing down on a whole world that's been hidden for who knows how long.
And the temperature? Oh, it's just the coldest place on the entire planet. We're talking temperatures that dive down below minus 90 degrees Celsius. That's minus 130 Fahrenheit. It is so unbelievably brutal. You'd be forgiven for thinking that absolutely nothing could survive there.
So, naturally, that brings us to the big question, right? In a place this extreme, this isolated, and this frozen solid, what on Earth could possibly be buried under all that ice?
Well, to even begin to understand the mysteries, we first have to appreciate the sheer, unbelievable scale of this place.
Antarctica is just immense. It's bigger than the entire United States. But here's where it gets wild. Hidden beneath this massive ice cap, shielded by that crushing weight of ice, researchers have found something incredible, a whole network of over 400 subglacial lakes. We're talking about huge bodies of liquid water, kept from freezing by the Earth's own heat, and they've been sealed off from the rest of the world for millions of years.
And those hidden lakes, they're really just the first clue that this frozen wasteland wasn't always, well, a frozen wasteland. In fact, all the evidence we're finding points to a vibrant, almost unrecognizable prehistoric past.
Ever since paleontologists really started digging here back in 1986, they've been pulling these amazing fossils out of the ice. Think about it. 70 million years ago, Antarctica was a lush, green world, teeming with dinosaurs and giant sea creatures. They've even found the remains of a really bizarre egg-laying mammal from about 25 million years ago. It's like finding a whole lost world. And just to give you an idea of the kinds of creatures we're talking about, they found a mosasaur here. That's a marine reptile that was 36 feet long. To put that in perspective, that's as tall as a 3-story building, and it was just swimming around in the warm waters off of green Antarctica. Crazy. But the mysteries aren't all prehistoric. Actually, some of the most mind-boggling discoveries hint at a much more recent and much more human presence on the continent. So in 2014, archaeologists found the very first human remains ever discovered on the continent. But these skulls were different. They were elongated, a shape that isn't natural but was created through an ancient practice called artificial cranial binding. And here's the part that'll blow your mind. They look almost exactly like skulls found thousands of miles away, in ancient Egypt and Peru. I mean, this discovery just raises this unbelievable question. How did people even get to the world's most isolated continent thousands of years ago? Is it possible that ancient civilizations from Egypt or Peru somehow made it all the way to this frozen world?
The mysteries aren't just stuck here on Earth's history either. It turns out Antarctica is one of the best places on the planet to find visitors from much, much farther away.
Over the last 50 years, scientists have collected over 10,000 meteorites from the Antarctic ice. It makes sense, right? The clean white landscape makes these dark rocks super easy to spot, and the extreme cold preserves them perfectly.
And some of these rocks have been on an incredible journey. Scientists found one meteorite they actually confirmed came from Mars. An ancient asteroid impact literally blasted it off the Martian surface. It then traveled through space for millions of years before it finally fell to Earth, landing right here in Antarctica, giving us a perfectly preserved piece of the red planet to study. Okay, so we've gone from outer space to now deep beneath the ice sheet, where scientists have found what seems like an impossible ecosystem, one that really pushes the boundaries of where we think life can exist.
This is one of Antarctica's most famous and, frankly, bizarre landmarks. At the edge of the Taylor Glacier, there's this 5-story waterfall that looks like it's pouring blood out onto the ice. It's very appropriately named Blood Falls.
For 100 years after it was discovered, people had all sorts of theories. Maybe it was some kind of red algae or something even stranger. So the big question is it actually blood? No, but the real answer is way cooler. The waterfall is actually being fed by one of those subglacial lakes, one that's been trapped for millions of years. The water in there is super salty and loaded with iron. So when it finally escapes and hits the oxygen in the air for the very first time, the iron oxidizes. It literally rusts, turning the water that deep, blood-red color.
But the real mind-bender about blood falls is what's in that water. Scientists found life, at least 17 different kinds of bacteria, just living there. They survive in total darkness with zero sunlight and no oxygen. This little ecosystem could be a model for how life might exist on other worlds, like Mars or the icy moons of Jupiter.
All right, and finally, let's get to the discoveries that are so strange they just defy any easy explanation. These are the true, deepest mysteries of the ice.
So we think of Antarctica as this world of ice, but it's also home to the driest place on Earth, the dry valleys. It hasn't rained there in 2 million years, and the atmosphere is strangely similar to the surface of Mars. It's just a land of shocking extremes.
But our final mystery takes us from one extreme to another, deep, deep into the ice. We're talking a depth of 1,100 feet. Just to picture that, that's like drilling down the entire height of the Eiffel Tower. And down there, a team of archaeologists said they found a skeleton. It was described as being about 8 feet long, with bones that seemed to be sticking out of its body. After years of studying it, here's the part that is just baffling. Its structure doesn't match any known animal, living or extinct. Officially, it's still completely unidentified.
So, from prehistoric sea monsters and ancient human visitors to alien bacteria and these unidentified creatures, the ice is slowly, very slowly, giving up its secrets. Which really just leaves us with one final chilling thought. What else is waiting to be discovered, frozen down there in the ice?